Today, we are diving deep into a crisis that has pushed the entire world right to the edge. It all kicked off with a promise of a quick, decisive conflict, but instead it spiraled into a global standoff with some absolutely devastating consequences. So let's get into what is really going on in the Strait of Hormuz. 6 weeks. Just 6 weeks. That was the promise, right? A quick victory. It was a classic projection of strength, of total control. But, as we've all seen, the reality playing out on the ground and on the water is painting a very, very different picture. You know, instead of that victory, here we are, 6 weeks into a brutal war that has completely upended the international order. Peace talks? They've totally collapsed. Oil prices are just through the roof, and the whole world is basically holding its breath as things get more and more dangerous in the planet's most critical oil artery. Okay, let's break down the core strategy here, what everyone's calling the double blockade. And you gotta understand, this isn't just some military maneuver. No, this is a massive economic gamble with the entire world's fuel supply on the line. So what is it exactly? Well, Iran started this toll gate system, basically charging tankers up to $2 million for safe passage. The US response to that? A complete and total shutdown. The logic seems to be, if we can't control it, nobody can. And with that one move, they've choked off a staggering 20% of the world's entire fuel supply. The game plan was simple. Cripple Iran's economy in just 2 weeks. Force them to the table. But here's the thing. The massive, potentially catastrophic flaw in that plan? Sources are saying this was a knee-jerk reaction, a decision made so hastily that it completely, and I mean completely overlooked how one particular global superpower would react. China. And that right there is the moment this regional fight explodes into a global powder keg. See, China is the single biggest customer for Iranian oil. With their economic might and their growing naval power, them stepping into this standoff just changes the entire equation for everyone involved. And this isn't your usual diplomatic doublespeak. This is a direct, sharp, unambiguous warning from the Chinese Defense Ministry straight to the United States. They have drawn a line in the sand, and it is crystal clear. Reports are already coming in that they're testing that line, with Chinese-backed tankers simply ignoring the blockade. And this brings us to the absolutely terrifying question at the heart of all this. It's the one that's keeping diplomats and generals up at night. What happens if, or when, the U.S. Navy gets the order to enforce this blockade against a Chinese ship? That one action, well, it could be the thing that pivots us from a regional war into a direct clash between nuclear-armed powers. Now, while all of this is going down at sea, something else happened on land. Something deeply disturbing. A story that's been wrapped in secrecy and just conflicting reports. We have to talk about what went down near Isfahan. So you've got two completely different stories. The official line from the US is that this was a heroic rescue mission for a downed F-15 pilot. But Iran and other international reports are telling a starkly different story. A failed night strike that was targeting nuclear facilities. The US says their equipment failed because it got stuck in the mud. Iran says, no, we shot your planes down with our new advanced missiles. Whatever the real story is, the price tag for this one mission is just staggering. Over $400 million worth of high-tech military hardware just gone. And that number, it's not just a huge financial loss. It's a massive strategic blow. Let's actually break that down for a second. We're talking about an F-15 fighter, 2 MC-130J commando aircraft. Those are worth about $100 million each, plus multiple helicopters and a bunch of drones. So yeah, this isn't just about the money. It represents a serious crack in the myth of American air superiority. And make no mistake, the shockwaves from these events aren't just staying in the Middle East. Oh no, they are having a direct impact on the wallets of people all over the world, and it's creating absolute chaos right in the heart of Washington. So why should you care about this? Well, just look at the gas pump or your heating bill. For a country like India, a major US partner, this is a total economic nightmare. Over half of their cooking gas and fuel comes right through that now blockaded strait. Experts are warning that once their elections are done, people there could be facing price hikes like they've never seen before. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the political cost is just as bad. The president's approval rating has plummeted to -43%. Now, to put that into perspective for you, as you can see here, that is actually lower than Richard Nixon's rating was at the absolute height of the Watergate scandal. Just think about that. And look, this historic unpopularity, it's not just about poll numbers. It's fueling real, high-level talk among officials about a potential constitutional crisis. The very stability of the executive branch is now being openly questioned. So the key takeaway here is that this has gone way beyond just policy debates. The 25th Amendment, the constitutional tool for removing a president who's deemed unable to do their job, that's now reportedly part of the conversation in D.C. That alone tells you just how severe this crisis has become. And as if this whole thing couldn't get more explosive, sources are now revealing that the vice president has allegedly been giving daily briefings directly to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, this just raises these profound questions about whose interests are really driving American policy in this conflict. So you have a botched mission, a global economic standoff, and a constitutional crisis brewing at home. This double blockade was a huge gamble, but it may have put far more on the table than just control of a waterway. The question we're all left with is whether this whole chain of events marks a turning point, not just in a war, but in the entire global balance of power. Is this the beginning of the end for the American century?